She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 8. Last 2 weeks of this show have been really drowning. Really, really badly. I know a lot of people don't like this show. And I understand why. I did videos about it. I did a video earlier this week about it. That's fair. I liked it up until a certain point, and it's really falling off. At this point, we're only a couple episodes away from the season being over, and they really have to turn the ship around. Obviously, all the episodes are done, and I'm hoping that we get some good stuff here to close the show. But I can tell you this, from the very beginning of this episode, like the opening montage recapping like what she did in a very like it recaps like these funny moments and has her burping and stuff. Just the beginning part of this episode is exactly what the problem is that the comedy's not funny. It comes off like a very homogenized James Gunn, and I thought it worked fine in the early episodes, but really it's fallen off, and this to me is just an example of oversaturation of the Marvel style, like that Marvel comedy. And I'm already rolling my eyes, but as I'm watching it, I've still got hope for improvement, as we go through. And like I said a minute ago, and in a previous review for this show, the opening segment of the show, like the first part with the ribbit, the frog man or whatever, it's almost like it's a blatant copy of the Peacemaker. I mean, it really feels that way. I know it's not. I'm not stupid. But it feels like somebody, the showrunner for She-Hulk, watched Peacemaker and said, let's do something like that. But unfortunately, the talent and the comedic timing of James Gunn is not here. And neither is the charisma of people like a John Cena and the rest of the cast in that show. It doesn't work, and it comes off really try hard. The Ribbit thing kind of reminded me more of Kick-Ass, which was a great movie, but it just doesn't work here. And at this point, me as a fan, as somebody who doesn't even hate the show as much as others, even I'm hoping it ends. Like, even I'm thinking this should have ended a while ago, and this should have been done a while ago. Speaking of copying, this Luke Jacobson character, I mean, again, this thing jumped the shark, bro. It's too much. I remember reading on Twitter at some point in the past week, and I forget where I read this, or maybe I heard Drunk 3PO say it. I don't really remember, but somebody talked about how this show is made for like women in their 30s that are single. So that's not me, but I have a really hard time believing that women in their 30s actually watch this show and can relate to this character. Maybe they can relate to some of the earlier stuff like the dating and, the apps and, working, I don't know what they can relate to, dude. This show's becoming painful. I'm just being honest with you. It's fucking painful. I'm trying here, but fuck. But what ends up happening is Jacobson ends up going to court, and his lawyer is, it's no secret, it is Daredevil, the man without fear, Matt Murdock, making his debut in the She-Hulk show. People have been waiting for this from the very beginning. We heard he was in it. He's an attorney. I think some people wanted him to be in it earlier, but here he is, and here we go. I gotta give it up to Charlie Cox, and everybody knows this. He's fantastic in this role. I mean, if you saw Daredevil on Netflix, I mean, the dude's an absolute animal. He fits into this role so perfectly. Charlie Cox to Matt Murdock is sort of like what Patrick Stewart was to Professor Xavier. That is like perfect casting. Or if you want me to go a step further, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. It was just perfect. And when he's on screen, man, he is delightful to watch and extremely charismatic. And the show really needs something like that. He has a great energy about him. And they do reintroduce him in a way to where even if you have not watched a Netflix series, they tell you he's from Hell's Kitchen, from New York. Like, they do, go into his practice and things of that nature without explaining his whole story. So Daredevil and She-Hulk both end up having that, that sequence with the car or whatever. And, from the start, like, Again, it's played up for laughs. It's not really that funny. It's kind of, like I said, look, what I said before about Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters still stands. She's super cute, super charismatic, but the writing is like an anchor tied to her ankle, and she's being pulled underwater. I think she would do a lot better if they maybe let her ad-lib a bit, or maybe they're letting her ad-lib too much. I mean, I really don't know, but holy moly, man, this can be improved by just simple stuff and not trying so hard. The actual fight between She-Hulk and Daredevil was kind of fun. I like how he is, obviously experienced. He's not the same Daredevil. He's not a rookie. This is not a rookie character. He's been fighting crime for a while. So right away she discovers that he's Daredevil, and I'm not really a fan of that. Like, I feel like what I would have preferred, and this is just me, is that they do this kind of stuff early in the season, and then maybe she unmasks him later. And I know she's strong, and it's not really a big problem for me. It's not like it ruins the show, but beyond how I feel about it now. But I did feel this could have been done better, and I wasn't a fan of the fact that they did it this soon. The chemistry between the two actors, I think, is fine. I think what's going to end up happening, and I'm recording this literally like right after the episode aired in the middle of the night, right? After 3 a.m. I stayed up this evening. I think a lot of folks are probably going to bitch at the fact that Daredevil is too lighthearted, because it's Matt Murdock, it's Charlie Cox, the same thing, but it's the writing and the tone is more She-Hulk than it is Daredevil, which I somewhat understand, but I think a lot of people are going to hate that because of how popular and how huge that Netflix Daredevil show was. I mean, you could even make the argument that the Disney Plus shows that we've gotten since WandaVision probably would not exist if it wasn't for the popularity of that Netflix Daredevil show. But what makes it work is the fact that Charlie Cox is super talented, and he can kind of do anything. He can make Daredevil funny, he can make him dark, he can make him a bastard, like a cocky bastard. He can make him likable. He's a very diversive, actor with a lot of range. And because of that, I think it's not as bad as certainly it could have been compared to some of the other characters. But it's definitely not the Daredevil that I think people are going to really be hoping to see. Now, conversely, there's a scene where Daredevil by himself fights these goons in this hallway, which is almost exactly like the scene. It has to be done on purpose as a tribute to the scene in the old Daredevil show where he did the same thing. And that was cool. Great martial arts action. Just awesome stuff. This is what people have been wanting to see for a long time. I think people are going to go into this episode and they're going to genuinely be fans of Daredevil from the Netflix show. They're going to miss him. They're going to love all this stuff. That's going to be a part of the fan base, and they're going to gauge their enjoyment of this episode on the fact that Daredevil's even in it, whereas others are going to say, yeah, Daredevil's in it, but it's not really the same Daredevil in the sense of the tone. So it's going to be interesting to see people's opinions on this. I think at this point, we're near the end. I think people who hate She-Hulk are going to hate it no matter what. Like, it's probably not going to get better for them, even with this episode. I just don't feel that. And those who like it and who like Daredevil might like this too. For me, it's a mixed bag. I did enjoy this. I really did. But I can kind of see this being a bit concerning for the future of this character. I doubt the Daredevil Disney Plus show coming out in a few years is going to be like this one. Because this was, a lighter Daredevil. But I don't know if I want to see him like this soon. Maybe if She-Hulk was coming out later, we could see this kind of version of Daredevil. But I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it. Now, when they actually get into the base, like the main part of the main playroom or whatever, I really liked all the little, that was good stuff, all the sight gags. Like, you had the Frogger arcade machine, I liked that. I liked the phony bat signal. There's things they were kind of parodying here. There are little Easter eggs all over the episodes, or all over this part, that are really, really good. This is what I like, that kind of humor. And again, humor's subjective, but that to me, it plays out better. So then, as if that wasn't shocking enough, again, more controversy. This is going to be a real polarizing they made some really interesting decisions. It's going to be a real polarizing time. Daredevil, Matt Murdock, and She-Hulk fuck. I'm not making that up, man. They fuck. I don't know what to say to that. Like it's I don't hate it. I think it's wacky, and I like when they do things like that because it's just, it's more realistic. Like, hell yeah, dude. Like, who wouldn't? Don't tell me you wouldn't if you weren't him. Come on. You know? I don't know, man. It's just, I think nerds are going to feel a certain type of way about this, and other folks are going to disagree. Real polarizing shit in this episode. But we're not done yet. So then it all comes to a head in the final segment of the episode. So she wins an award. And remember a couple episodes ago with that date, the guy copied her phone or whatever. It's all leading to this scene right here. A bunch of like private information is revealed and shit, like footage of her basically about to get laid. That's what it looked like. And she gets pissed off and smashes the screen behind her, like just Hulk smashes it. Earlier in the episode, she said She-Hulk smash, which was a tiny, tiny bit cringe, but I kind of thought she was going to say that at some point in the show, and she did. So it's implied at the end of the episode that she is so angry that she has now lost control, like what happens to Bruce, before he made himself the professor. So she loses control and snaps and is growling and snarling and screaming. And that essentially is what is the cliffhanger. Is this an interesting enough cliffhanger to go into the season finale? No, I do not think it was that interesting of a cliffhanger. I was hoping for a bit more. The show does feel more sitcom-ish, and that's not necessarily a problem, but we're near the end, and there needs to be some momentum picking up for excitement in the last episode. But I will say, this episode was an improvement over the last two, and there are things I liked about this episode genuinely. It was definitely improvement. It wasn't as good as the early episodes, but it was an improvement. However, I know a lot of people are going to hate it, and I do somewhat, I kind of understand why. I can't sit here and, say, your opinion is invalid, because in this case it is valid, because some of the things they did with Daredevil, but she came off more likable in this episode next to Charlie Cox. Like, there's charisma there, and there's chemistry. But on other scenes, there's just no chemistry at all. But it could have also been because, there's CG effects and things like that. Either way, there's some, I don't know, this episode, there's things I really did not like about it. There's things I did like. But it didn't bore me. But I don't know if I'm going to rush back to see it. So overall, very mid episode. And in no way is this getting me excited for the finale, which means it probably was not a good episode just because it didn't do that. But there are good things about it. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of fans are going to be happy to see Daredevil again. When I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, when he first showed up, there was a huge reaction in the movie theater for him. So I think that base audience is there. But I think after they see the way he was portrayed here, which wasn't necessarily bad, just different, it may end up leading to some real bad Twitter rants and some real bad videos being made about the direction of the MCU. But I don't think that Daredevil's going to be behaving like this, in the future. But he got to fuck her. So, go figure. Anyways, that's my thoughts on She-Hulk episode 8. And then there's one left. We'll see where it goes. Thanks again. Take care. I'll talk to y'all soon. Let me know what you think down below. Bye.